I used to wake up every morning with a feeling that had become painfully familiar, the feeling of not having enough time. From the moment my eyes opened, there was already a quiet pressure in my chest, a sense that I was late for my own life. I truly believed that if I could just get a few extra hours each day, everything would fall into place. Work would get done. Projects would finally move forward. My life would feel organized, controlled, and calm. That thought probably sounds familiar. Maybe you're living in it right now? But there was a truth I discovered, one that made my face burn with embarrassment the first time I truly saw it. I didn't lack time at all. I was simply using my time like someone who had absolutely no responsibility for it. And the moment I understood what was really happening was the moment everything about how I lived began to change. Today I want to tell you a story. A story that took me from being someone who constantly complained about being too busy to someone who now completes more meaningful work than I ever thought possible. This isn't a secret hack. It's not a complex time management system. It's a simple shift in perspective, so simple that it sounds almost insignificant but powerful enough to change anyone's life if they truly understand it. Let me take you back to the moment it began. One day, I was complaining to a close friend. I told him I was overwhelmed, drowning in work, constantly behind. I said I needed a 30-hour day just to survive. I was exhausted, frustrated, and convinced that time was my enemy. He didn't comfort me. He didn't agree with me. Instead, he asked a question that hit me straight in the chest. "How long were you on your phone yesterday?" I laughed. "Probably about an hour," I said casually without thinking. He didn't respond. He simply took out his phone, opened the screen time report, and slid it toward me. Check. I tapped the screen. 5 hours. 5 hours the day before spent on my phone. 5 hours scrolling through content that meant nothing. 5 hours watching videos I couldn't remember. 5 hours playing games I didn't even enjoy. In that moment, it felt like I had been caught stealing from myself. Worse than that, I had stolen time and then turned around and complained that I didn't have any. That moment was a slap of truth. I realized I didn't have a time problem. I had a priority problem, and I was hiding it behind the excuse of "I don't have time." It hurts to hear that, but it's true. Here's something I want you to remember: you have the exact same number of hours each day as the most successful people in the world. They don't get extra time. They don't live in a secret 25-hour time zone. The difference isn't time. It's how they see time. Most of us treat time as something that happens to us, like weather. Today is too busy. I don't have time today. Time feels external, uncontrollable, always slipping through our fingers. That way of thinking keeps you stuck. The mindset that changes everything is this: time is not something you have. Time is something you create. You don't find time. You don't wait for time. You create time by deciding what you will not do. Once I understood that, I tried something that sounded ridiculous at first but ended up changing my entire life. I tracked everything I did for 1 week. Every meal, every task, every conversation, every scroll, every moment of staring at the ceiling doing nothing. Everything. When the week ended, I looked at the list and felt sick. I had spent hours on things that added no value to my life, things I couldn't even remember a week later. Every morning I spent about an hour lying in bed, scrolling aimlessly. 1 hour a day became 7 hours a week, almost an entire workday gone. I spent hours watching shows I didn't even enjoy, hours talking to people I wasn't close to just out of habit, hours opening social media over and over again, as if my life would somehow change if I refreshed one more time. But the most interesting part wasn't the wasted time. It was discovering the moments I always labeled as busy when in reality I was procrastinating. A refined kind of procrastination. Let me just check my email first. I'll clean my desk real quick. I'll plan a bit more before I start. It all sounded productive, but it was just a clever way to avoid real work, to avoid discomfort. That's when I made a decision. I would start treating time the way I treat money. If someone asks to borrow money, you think about it. You ask why. You ask whether it's worth it. But with time, we give it away without hesitation. A mediocre movie takes a few hours. A social media app designed to exploit your psychology takes an entire evening. Someone asks for 5 minutes and ends up taking 30. And I realized something uncomfortable. If time is more valuable than money, why was I giving it away so easily? So I started asking one simple question before doing anything. If this cost money, would I pay for it? Would I pay for 1 hour of mindless scrolling? Would I pay to watch a movie I wasn't excited about? Would I pay to sit in a meaningless conversation? The answer was almost always no. So why was I paying with time something infinitely more precious? Then I found an even stronger question. A question that truly changed my life. Is this worth a piece of my life? Because that's what time really is. Time is your life. Every hour you spend is an hour of your existence. Your energy, your youth, your health, your limited time on this planet. So before doing anything, I began to pause and ask, is this worth 1 hour of my life? Is it worth 3 hours? Is it worth my entire evening? Most of the time, the answer was no. I realized I didn't lack time. I was simply spending it on too many things that didn't matter. But understanding something and changing behavior are two very different things. I knew that. So I asked myself, how do I actually change? How do I move from awareness to action? How do I stop myself from slipping back into old habits? The answer was surprisingly simple, so simple that many people would dismiss it. I wrote a list of what truly mattered to me, not what others expected me to care about, not what made me look busy, not what triggered fear of missing out. I wrote down the things that 5 years from now I would deeply regret not doing. Real goals, real relationships, skills I wanted to build, projects I wanted to complete. And when I looked at that list, I felt another shock. The most important things in my life were not on my calendar. My calendar was filled with small tasks, meetings I didn't care about, messages I felt obligated to reply to, favors I said yes to out of guilt. Things that made me busy but not better. That's when I understood why my goals never moved forward. I only worked on what mattered when I had free time. And free time never came because empty time is always consumed by what's easy, fast, and comfortable. So I flipped the system. I scheduled my priorities first. I blocked time to learn new skills. I scheduled workouts. I scheduled time for personal projects. I scheduled time for people I love. And I treated those blocks like the most important meetings of my life. No skipping, no canceling, no excuses. Everything else had to fit around them, not the other way around. At first, people thought I was extreme. Why are you so strict? They asked. It's just a schedule. But the truly crazy thing is how most of us live. We hope time will magically appear. We believe that one day we'll finally be free to do what matters. But the truth is, brutal time never appears. You have to create it. And if you don't prioritize your life, someone else will prioritize their demands on your life. Within a month of living this way, everything changed. I completed a project I had delayed for months. I started exercising consistently. I learned skills I always said I would learn when I had time. And strangely, I felt like I had more free time, not because I became hyperproductive, but because I removed the garbage that was draining my days. I almost completely quit social media. I stopped watching shows just because they were available. I said no to unnecessary meetings. I gave myself permission to decline without guilt. And the less I did that didn't matter, the more space I had for what did. Now I want you to ask yourself something honestly. If you look back at your last week, do you really know where your time went? Do you know how many hours you spent on your phone? How many hours watching short videos? How many hours in pointless conversations? How many hours avoiding the one thing you know you should be doing? And most importantly, how many hours did you spend building the life you actually want? Most people don't know. They just feel busy. But being busy is not the same as living. Busy doesn't mean progress. Busy doesn't mean fulfillment. We're busy because we let anything take our time. We spend time as if it's unlimited, as if we have thousands of days left to waste. But you know the truth. Time is not infinite. Every hour that passes is gone forever. So if you truly want to change your life, I challenge you to do one simple thing. For 1 week, track your time. Not to judge yourself, not to feel ashamed, but to see what you've been avoiding. You'll discover something powerful. You have far more time than you think, and you'll also see how easily you give it away. That's when the real questions begin. Is this worth my life? Is this how I want to spend my limited hours? Do I want a busy life or a meaningful one? That moment, not a new productivity app, not a perfect schedule, is where change truly starts. When you begin to value your time, you begin to protect it. You say no more easily. You remove what weakens you. You prioritize what strengthens you. And then you realize something no one tells you: you don't need more time. You just need to take back the time you're giving away. When you understand that, you start living differently. You stop waiting. You start acting. You begin building the life you actually want now, this week, not someday. So ask yourself one final question. A question that may follow you for the rest of your life. What am I spending my life on? If the answer makes you uncomfortable, that's good. That discomfort is an invitation to change. And change begins with something very simple: respecting every hour you're given. Because time isn't just time. Time is your life. Use it like the greatest asset you will ever own.